In this pencast, welcome to Accounting 11 Twin, further discussion on plan assets, where it is our goal to discuss accounting for intangible asset, goodwill. This asset is different than other intangible assets because it has no limit to its life. Because of that, you can't amortize goodwill. What you do is you test each year to see if it's still in place. And if you find that the goodwill has been impaired, then you write it off. That's beyond the scope of this book and studied in more advanced accounting classes. You'll study that in intermediate if you continue on. But we would like to look at the accounting for goodwill and then realize we won't be amortizing it. One more thing to consider about goodwill is it can only come about from a purchase. So the only way you get this is by purchasing something. Although you generate it without a doubt internally, you can't come up with an amount for it until there's been an arm's length transaction. So it can only come about from a purchase of something that already exists. Let me write down some facts and we'll discuss this. So we decide to buy a business. We've had it appraised and it comes in at $15 million for the total assets. We're willing to assume the liabilities of that business for $1 million, and we dicker and argue and we settle on a purchase price of $18 million. Why would we pay more for a business that exists than the fair market value of assets? Let's say in this case, this business has done such a great job. It's a restaurant, and it is never empty. It's packed, and it has more earnings power than any other similar restaurants. And if we want to buy it, we're just going to have to pay more for it. As usual, let's analyze the situation here. I always start with analyzing before you start ripping out journal entries. So the fair market value of the assets that we're going to get from an appraisal is $15 million. We're going to assume liabilities. It means they already have $1 million in debt and we agree to pay it off, so we're going to assume those. So the fair market value of the net assets, that means one minus the other, is $14 million. And we already said we're going to pay $18 million and feel lucky that we can get it. That's a bonus to us. And the difference between the two is goodwill. And this goodwill can exist because it's been paid for. We have, in a bona fide arm's length transaction, paid for this goodwill. Let's see kind of an entry this leads to. We need to record our assets. And I'm just going to put all of them in one account. I would be breaking them out, probably using the lump sum purchase method we talked about in an earlier pencast. So I've recorded the purchase of my assets. I'm going to drop down a line and record my liabilities that I agree to pay. And as you'll recall, they're $1 million. As far as our analysis goes, we're now to net assets, which is just math. We actually write a check or sign a mortgage or do something in the amount of $18 million. And then we record goodwill that we have purchased in an arm's length transaction for $4 million. How did I come up with that? Look at my analysis. Does my entry balance? Yes, it does. So that is the entry to record the acquisition where the acquisition leads to the recording of goodwill, and this is the entry that does it. We do not amortize goodwill because how long is that going to last? There is no way to come up with that. We do a test every year to see if we're going to write any off. that test is rather complicated, and we'll leave that for other accounting classes. So we're not going to look at usage or disposition of this particular intangible asset, but leave that for the future because we don't want to spoil all the surprises that are coming up in accounting. Well, thank you so much for joining me in this short little pincast on the intangible asset of goodwill. We have one more and we'll wrap up this discussion on plant assets.